God, that's fucking sour as shit. Oh my god. Oh god.
Welcome everybody. I'm leaving that part in. Welcome everybody to another edition of the Tougies Take podcast. We are back again, at least in the summer, your weekly deep dive into, well, the 2 to 3 biggest stories of the week in hockey, because there's not too much going on, but hey, we make the best of it, and then we talk about other random nonsense. You know by now if you've been listening to the show. Anyway, hi, we're all here again. Sin, how you doing?
Pretty good.
Endo, still without a webcam because you're in the middle of moving.
Yeah.
M.
Yeah. Oh my god. Oh, I just had some sour stuff and I went down the wrong pipe and I'm dying here. You guys can't see it, thank God. My eyes are watering. Everything hurts. I'm gonna go get some water. But yeah, besides from that, as you can tell on the video side of things, I am like in the process of moving. I've finally gotten the keys, and the funny thing about this is that my part used to be an Airbnb at one point, and they left all the dishes and all the stuff there for us to use. So like half of the shit that we have they're bringing in is just going to go to storage and not going to be touched for like a whole entire year, which is great.
Is that great, or would you rather like try
I mean,
to
I don't
sell
really
stuff?
I mean,
you know?
we're only going to stay there for a year, and we don't really have that much. And like, we were going to buy forks and knives and all that fun stuff as well. So now we have like an abundance of it. We have like 3 different types of pots and pans. We have a microwave now, which is like, holy shit! Like, I'm finally have a microwave because we didn't have a microwave at our past 2 places we lived at. And yeah, it's just a lot more amenities. We also have a coffee maker, like a K-cup coffee maker, and they left us like 20 K-cups. Like just ready to go. And I'm like, all right, I'm fine with this.
Endo Mills has moved up from the Super 8 to a Wyndham. He's on the ups. From the hot plate to the microwave.
Yeah, no more
Endo
cooler.
Mills. Delightful.
No more cooler.
Oh, God. Well, gentlemen, like I alluded towards, we don't have too much to talk about. And of course, as per usual, one of the stories ends up having to be a little bit negative. But what we will do, as we always do, is we'll get to some viewer questions to kick off the show. We'll get to that real kind of shitty story, and then we'll end on a positive couple of notes. So how does that sound, everybody? Hopefully good, because it's what you're getting. But before we get to those viewer questions, as always, we need to mention that this podcast is brought to you by our lovely friends at manscaped.com. We want to remind you that you can get 20% off your order and free shipping when you use the code Tougie. That's Tougie at manscaped.com. The best you can get, the pinnacle when it comes specifically to men's grooming. But again, as we have talked about, it's not just the fellas who can be spoiled by the lovely products from Manscaped. Check them out, manscaped.com. Code Tougie, Tougie. And our first question comes from Ender. And I did want to talk about this right off the start here. When I put out the viewer questions on the Discord, which again, if you are watching this, listening to this, whatever, there is a link to join the Discord in the description to get your questions in. I mentioned that we were recording late tonight, and Ender asked, so I'll bite, why are you recording so late? You
that
may have noticed...
Motherfucker. That nosy
you may
motherfucker.
have noticed over the past little bit that we have had some on-again, off-again tech issues with the show. Sin, do you want to tell people the reason for that?
Not really, but all right. Yeah, just the ISP where I am is Xfinity, and they're shit, pretty shit.
Yeah,
it's fine for most of the year, but when it gets hot, like in the summer months, between the hours of like 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific time, my internet will just sporadically drop, like come in and out, just cause.
It's caused quite a few issues.
They insist that the heat has nothing to do with it. They're bullshitting.
They're liars.
They're absolutely liars. Your infrastructure sucks. Like, it's crap. And I can't switch. The only other good obviously the other companies here are even shittier. and the only fiber option near me has 1.5 stars reviews. So, yeah,
I think it's gone down since you first mentioned to me that they were your other option.
maybe.
It's delightful.
man.
So yeah, it's just caused a lot of rightful frustration on your part where we weren't sure. Like, man, is it like the software that we go through to record this? Like, what is the issue? But yeah, pretty much confirmed that it's just your ISP, where you live, the infrastructure. It's just it's been a pain, and obviously, like, you know, so tonight it's like, okay, cool, let's record a little bit later on in the day to not have, like, for example, if we talk about NHL 24 again, you know, like last week's episode, we were talking a lot about it.
Yeah.
And I know it was very frustrating for you for us to be engaged in a conversation like that and to just be like, oh, cool, I get disconnected again right in the middle of it. So
Yeah. I had a lot of fucking thoughts on that because I really enjoyed NHL 24 and
I wanted to actually utilize that as a way to kind of open it up to just be like, if there is anything in regards to that, because I'd say more so than even the upcoming hockey seasons right now, the video game side of things is what is at the forefront for us. If there was anything we didn't mention last week or something that's come up, because now would be a good time to mention it, because we have been engaging in those conversations, Sin and I especially, on the Twitter side of things in regards to what we hope NHL 24 will still be. Because, my goodness, is there a lot of pushback towards change?
Yeah, which is weird because people are always bitching about it. It's the same game every year, and then major fucking changes get brought in. All of a sudden, people are crying because they can't do the same things anymore.
Yeah, there's a video that was released kind of in the FGC about buffing and nerfing, and it's kind of in the same respect. You can't buff everything, because then everything's going to be super powered and overpowered. You have to nerf and balance certain things. And the one thing that I think this community's had a problem with for a little bit of a long time is they've had their cake and they've been able to eat it too. And now they've, introduced so many systems to counteract that and to kind of balance things out and give not only the offense the opportunity to have make plays happen, but now the defense, and kind of just making the game more balanced. People are kind of realizing, oh shit, I can't do the same thing that I did before. I can't exploit the certain ways, and people aren't happy that they can't do the same shit while having the new shit at the same time.
You would think that people, after everyone acknowledges that NHL 23 was the same fucking game the whole way through the year because there were no updates, you'd think people would be tired of playing the same goddamn game and would just accept something that's different, even just because it's different, even if it does need its own little kind of tweaks and changes. But apparently, that is not the case. I just, it's funny. You talk about the nerfing and the buffing. Like, man, it's not like it's a new thing in the sports game scene either. Like, I think one of the most famous examples, it is a gaming in general thing too, but especially for sports games, I think back to Madden 20 years ago. 20 years ago, right around this time, and actually I want to know for sure when this game dropped. Maybe the most legendary edition of Madden ever. Madden 04 dropped August 11th, 2003. Wow. So we have passed the 20-year anniversary of Madden 04 with Mike Vick on the cover. One of the most overpowered individual characters in the history of any sports game, that directly led to Madden 2005 having Ray Lewis on the cover and being focused solely on defense and the hit stick and trying to counteract, okay, how the fuck do we stop this one character from being so overpowered? And at the end of the day, like, there's been a lot of conversation, I think, with NHL about, like, oh, it's always so, like, overpowered towards the offense. And then again, you get those changes to the defensive side of things, and it's like, oh, well, checking. Oh, but I just don't know if people know what they want.
They don't.
Is where I'm at this stage. Because they take away some offensive tools, the L skating primarily, add in some defensive tools, but no, now that's bad, according to some people. I've almost hit the point of trying to stop understanding, because I don't think you can understand somebody's mindset like that. We just view things too differently.
And another thing is like, this may be controversial opinion, but I think there's some people put way too much stock in what professional players have to say about the game.
Mhm.
And that's my opinion of that is that obviously professional players who, especially if they had success over the past, they're not going to want many changes.
Mm-mm.
Why would they? Because they just kicked ass in the last iteration. So yeah, they're going to react poorly to button changes or new systems and things like that. And that makes sense because that's essentially part of their livelihood. That's now
100%.
they have to adjust and learn to. I'm not going to name names, but there's been several that said, okay, you need to move the puck protect back to this button, and yeah, maybe you didn't need the takeaway L skating. I think that created a skill gap, and it's just like anyone can L skate, really. Like I don't know, man. Like anyone can L skate. Now it's like you can't. I don't know. It's interesting. I think that this is probably gonna be the biggest game with the biggest skill gap, and people just don't see it yet because it's not individual skill matters, but I think playing as a team is going to matter a whole lot more in the way of sixes.
And that's the sport. That is hockey.
Yeah.
Hockey is a 5-on-5 hell 6-on-6 sport. Every single person, every single shift matters. That's the reason why you don't see teams with like a one-star player win a Stanley Cup. You see teams with depth. You see teams with variety and stuff like that. And it's directly reflecting in the gameplay itself now with the pressure system and having to basically rely on your teammates to be in position to get an advantage and to use IQ. I will say it. People in this community are fucking idiots. I will be fucking flat out. I don't care if I get hate for this, but the amount of people I've seen on Twitter, the amount of people, or X with the cross and X on there, on fucking Reddit, on all they've been like, oh, I hate the changes because, they were listening to the wrong people. It's like, my brother in Christ, this is the most hockey that NHL has felt in a long time. When I first picked up the game, it gave me nostalgia back to NHL 04. Just because the pacing and how the game is played, how the game moves, I still need to like readjust with that. They've got me reinstalling NHL 04 rebuild in order to play this game and understand how the game works again because it's completely different. The game is designed the way we tried to play the game for the past 2 years in drop-ins and clubs, and it's so weird that the game's actually going to be working that way.
It's very funny to me that a common thing I see mentioned is, they're appealing to the YouTubers and how they want the game to be, yet more often than not, like, who are you seeing complain? It's so they're apparently listening to the YouTubers and the streamers, but the YouTubers and streamers, like Sin mentioned, are the ones voicing their displeasure about certain changes. Not wholesale. I'm certainly very happy with the way it's going, so maybe they're listening to me. But yeah, it's just one of those things that doesn't compute. But Sin, you're very much right about the pro players too. Like, yes, you want to have that feedback, but at the same time, like you said, why would somebody who was able to make significant money off of playing this game, they're going to be the ones who least, want that change to happen, for lack of a better term and lack of a better way of phrasing it, because if there's less change for them to adapt to, they're still going to be at the peak of their game without having to adjust. I mean, it's just the way these things work. So yeah, I am I don't know. I am intrigued to see what happens because last week we referred to the positive changes of, they re-added or will be re-adding in hybrid controls and 94 controls. At base level, you would think, okay, why? But as we've learned, it is directly tied to accessibility issues. Certain people flat out need those control schemes to be able to play the damn game. Otherwise, some people might not just be able to, and that's not cool. Then you get into the conversation of removing, making the new goalie tether system optional. Okay, sure. I mean, yes, there were some legitimate complaints to that. Do I think a lot of people who were complaining just probably needed a little bit more time to adjust? Yes. And I think that's very much tied into the other systems, especially the pressure system, and that's the big one where it's like, okay, what are
my God.
What are we going to do here? What are they going to do here with that in regards to just how many changes are they going to make? We are just over a month away from launch, and then what happens the first month, the second month after launch, and what does this game look like? This is one of the more intriguing times, I would say, for the EA NHL franchise. Like, the term make or break is always thrown out. The Madden community defined this game as a make or break year. But like, truly, it's the first year, the new voices at the helm, trying to bring the game to the direction that they think it should go. And are they going to give in to that pushback that they're getting that I feel like prior leadership did? I feel like in some instances they didn't stick to their guns and then stuck to them in other instances where maybe they shouldn't have. It's a very interesting time for the EA NHL series. So, Ender, thank you for the question.
Yeah.
If you guys think of anything else, let me know. But I knew we were bound to get more
Yeah,
NHL
I had
talk
something,
in
but
there.
then I kind of lost it. Fuck.
Well, if you think of it at any time, just go ahead, because I mean, I know we're all
Randomly.
down to talk about this game, but
Yeah.
Yeah. I think saying it like they need to have faith that their ideas were pretty fucking good, because they are. And
They are.
it's, like, the pressure system is desperately needed, and I'm fucking so sick of people using the term offensive zone ragging.
Oh my
Because
fucking God. I want to punch our
that's
Frenchie.
a fucking
Jesus.
like, I don't even know the right term for it. Like, it's a misnomer, essentially. There's
Yeah.
no such thing as ragging the puck in the offensive zone. You're taking it to where all the defenders are and then keeping it away. You're not holding it back in your own zone and passing it around to kill time or whatever. Like, oh, that is, I'm sorry. It's just so frustrating to see people say that. Like, I don't get it. I really don't. Like, it's an answer to the trap, to the collapse, to the skill zone.
Mhm.
And it rewards team play. It's everything that you should want in a hockey game.
Mm.
And yet people are saying it's, I don't know. I really don't understand it.
I can understand why people from a 1v1 perspective would be concerned.
Yeah,
Like,
because they nerfed the AI because people were crying about skill zone. Instead of fucking getting good and moving the puck quicker, they were like, I can't deke through these computers because they play defense. Stop them playing defense.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, from the 1v1 perspective, I can understand it, because it's the idea of I have to take my left defenseman over to the left corner to try to get the puck back while this person builds up that pressure system. And if I do that, are the AI then smart enough to not completely leave something wide open? I get that as a concern, and I agree in terms of the pressure system, it should build up more on passing as opposed to just holding possession, although that should count for something. Shots as well should be very, very important. From the 3v3 perspective, I understand it, because there's a lot more open ice and a lot less you can do out there. But if it is 3v3, odds are you are playing 4 humans versus 4 humans, and then that just comes down to, hey, be more aggressive. You know, maybe don't use the fucking 95 speed build. Maybe use something that has a little bit more strength to knock someone off the puck, and then all of a sudden you're getting 3-on-2s all game instead of relying on breakaways. You know, an adjustment period there. From the 6v6 standpoint, I do not understand it. The idea of, they're ragging in the... Like, if someone's offensively ragging the puck on you in 6s, that means you are doing the 5-person collapse in front of your goalie and not actively engaging defensively, and that is one of the points of the entire fucking system, is to try and break the game out of that meta of 5 people in front of their goalie playing defense, because yes, that has been one of the better ways to play defense in the game, and it's boring as fuck to play, it's boring as fuck to watch, it's boring as fuck to broadcast. Say what you want about, the game's more offensively oriented. It's a fucking sports video game. No shit. It's going to be more offensively oriented. Every sports game is. Madden is oriented towards the offense and wide receivers and running backs being able to do crazy fucking shit because nobody wants to play a game where it's like the Rams Patriots Super Bowl where people fucking made fun of just how boring it was because it was two defenses going head to head and no offenses could fucking do anything. The NHL, we still clown on the fact that, like, oh yeah, in the 90s, games ended 1-0 or 2-1 all the time. Most people do not want that from their video game experience. Now, I get there are aspects of the offense that can be tuned, and that's fine, but I still can't believe some people are like, yeah, this sports video game is really kind of favored in terms of the offense.
Yeah.
Are you really surprised at that? Because more often than not, people aren't going to have fun playing shutdown defense. They're going to have more fun from an offensive standpoint. That's
the reason you play shutdown defense is so you can score.
Exactly.
You shut them down so that you can go the other way to score. The point is to put goals in the other net, not to just keep them out. That's part of it. But you need to score to win a game, and probably more than once. So, I'm glad I kind of remember what I was going to say. They're really, really, and I don't know how viable it is, but at some point, because of the just sheer amount of discrepancy we've seen from feedback, depending on what modes that person plays, there really needs to be separate tuner sets for the different game modes. I've been saying this since, probably since I really started playing online, which was like NHL 14. We're seeing people from Hut say this one thing, and then other people from who play East will say this, or like people sharing their experience of like they can just cycle on you forever. I'm just like, okay, no, because I go somewhere someone covers and it's like, oh, they're talking about like 1v1. I think there just needs to be different tuners because it's a completely different gaming experience. Like when I play sixes, I love it. I enjoy it. It's different. I don't play a lot of 1v1 because I don't enjoy it as much. I think I played the most that I have in 5 years when I was in Finland against Kennu. And that was kind of fun because I was like, it was like challenging myself, trying to beat him, trying to learn this thing, and because I was on no ping and I wouldn't fucking do it like at home. I don't know. I think it's overdue for separate tuner sets because you can't balance a game for one mode and have it still be balanced in this other mode. And I've noticed that, and I've been complaining about that. Like, hey, you balance the AI to prevent skill zone. Now my AI and Be a Pro are useless. Why are those two things the same? Right?
Yeah.
Every single kind of mode needs different tuners.
It's funny too. I was intrigued, right? Talking about the game being, more likely to favor offensive players. Goal scoring per game in the NHL for this past season was the highest it has been in my lifetime.
Yeah.
The last time, the average goals scored per game in the NHL this season were 3.81 across 1,312 games.
Wow.
That is the highest since 1994 when it was a 3.24. And for the most part, it's hovered under a 3. There have been a few exceptions. The first year post 04 lockout, scoring was up, which isn't really surprising because there were massive rule changes.
And then they called those rules for like a year, then stopped. They slowly went back to not. Remember when you could call for interference after someone dumped and chased, they're trying to get around you, you shoved them? You'd get called for interference for that. That's back. That's back, baby. They were calling cross checks in front of the net. It's crazy.
Ruined Brian McCabe's career.
Oh man.
And then outside of that, it's like it was trending upward over the last 5 years and then dipped because of the COVID shortened season. It was under a 3, but there were freaking 500, almost 500 unplayed games. So you don't know for sure. Goal scoring is going up. It's the same reason as to why it's like, oh man, why are we seeing, I can agree, the idea of, okay, the Michigan's one button, although it's not fucking hard to defend. It's not.
It's really not. It's
not. Especially
how many people did we have try to go behind the net and try Michigan against us? They never got a shot off.
I never got scored on in that beta. and we played a couple of good fucking teams. We weren't
Yeah.
playing fucking esports pros, but we ran into some teams with our fucking patchwork club of just like, hey, different friends, let's have fun. And
Oh, man, that was
we
great.
lost one game like 7-1. They didn't score a fucking Michigan though, because it's not that tough to see coming and it's not difficult to defend. It just isn't. But
No.
it's one of those things where it's like, again, like they've added in defensive tools, but again, it's going to be focused on an offensive-oriented play style because that is what we are seeing in the NHL. We are seeing Michigans in the NHL. We're seeing between-the-legs fucking goals. Fucking Jack Johnson scoring on breakaways. Like, this is what the NHL is. Like, it's an offensive-oriented league. The NBA is an offensive-oriented league. The NFL is an offensive-oriented league. Like, that's just what it is.
Yeah.
Like you said, the point of playing defense is to then create offensive chances. And at the end of the day, again, I feel like NHL has added in more defensive tools.
They have. I mean, you can say it gave us back, but also that hit system is incredible. Absolutely incredible. But, I mean, you can now bump people in front of the net, the new hitting system, which is great, on an entirely good hit checking system, who some people may say overpowered. Maybe. Can use slight tuning. Don't nerf it. Yep. Don't nerf it, but it needs slight tuning. You can stick lift again. Pokes, I think, need to be a little less punishing on the first poke. But even then, these are way more tools than you had last year, which was basically like you could poke. You couldn't stick lift. It was an auto penalty. You could kind of hit, but you had to be very, very careful. And it was bumps were hit or miss. And people could just do this little fucking spin and you just do nothing to them. You just hit a bubble and bounce off of them. Like, so it's a great year for defense. And it's like, yeah, they added the pressure system, but there's way, way more tools to deal with it. And honestly, it's fucking people. Yeah. Skill issue, dude. Like if you can't play defense with the amount of tools that you have right now, it's a fucking skill issue, or you're playing 1v1 and yeah, who knows why you playing 1v1.
If you're playing 1v1, then you sit there and acknowledge the fact that you're at the mercy of the AI. That's what it is. Like, that is just a part of it. Is there are times where the AI will do well for you, and then there are times where the AI will be fucking terrible for you. And if you can't accept that, do not play. That is why I stopped playing Hut. I did not like to accept that fact that my AI could just be like, fuck it, I'm out, and cost me goals, so I stopped playing Hut. Pretty simple. Take some responsibility. It is what it is. So, Ender, thank you for the question.
We're still on it. Oh, man.
It's like 28 minutes now since the start of the recording. And it's
Don't care. NHL 24
24
is going to be a great game, and the people pissing and moaning about it can lick my taint.
From AJ.
Ask another NHL 24 question, AJ. You bitch.
Oh, God. We do have an NHL question coming up in a minute.
Yay.
AJ asked, though, who is your favorite MMA fighter of all time or boxer of all time? Sin, do you have one? Have you ever been a big fan of any combat sports?
I don't like combat sports. I don't like them at all. It's just, it's not really my cup of tea. I don't know. I don't know if I'm squeamish or what, but I just like, I don't know if these dudes know what they're doing. to themselves. Like they do, but also it's like, fuck. Like, and I know people are going to call me fucking pinko liberal and shit like that, but like, it's just not my jam. Like, I don't like to see people, like, I had my share of fights in high school, and it's not, I don't know. I hate bringing myself to that point. That's just a very fucked emotional point to get to. Like, I not only worry about their physical health, but their emotional health. Like, I don't know if people understand, like, the level you have to go to get to, like, fists with someone else and a near survival mode. Because, yeah, I don't know.
I hear you. That's fair. Endo, do you have an answer to this?
When I watched the UFC, I really liked Stephen Wonderboy Thompson.
Hey.
He had that long ass fucking arm, and he's just, that's one lanky sumbitch, okay?
That long ass arm. You make him sound like fucking Nemesis from Resident Evil.
Yeah.
I will say I like video games of fighting games. Like, I like UFC video games because no one's dying.
I remember my first game of UFC Undisputed. I was like 10 or whatever when it came out for the PlayStation. That's when Ukes made
Jesus.
those games. God, it was really. I know you're old. No,
Yeah.
sorry. I remember going online. It's like, oh, I'll play online for the first time. I'll see how it goes. I got my
online for the first time.
yeah.
That's what you actually sounded like.
Read all about it. I got my shit beaten up online. I'm
Your
like,
ass! Your ass!
get shit on! Get shit on! I legit got like I got like waffle boarded. I got smacked, gobsmacked, everything. Just it was bad. It was like 3 punches. I was done. I'm like, I'm not playing this anymore.
Oh God, I too am a big fan of the UFC and Fight Night games, as people know from charity streams that we have done with Friendo Fight Night, and yeah, the one we did for the UFC at the beginning of the month. Sin got knocked the fuck out in the first.
That's bullshit, by the way. My guy was supposed to be a brawler with like a tough chin and stuff, and he just
didn't
KO'd.
give a shit.
Yeah, he had true sisu.
He did.
Hey.
It didn't work for him though.
Yeah, apparently brawler was the worst thing to do, but hey, the memes.
Oh God! Well,
Hey.
it was won by one OG Kevin Bacon, who went with the old submission specialist, and it worked out pretty well.
Oh man, what was it? What happened to Crash again? His guy tapped in like a minute 20.
like 97 seconds, dude. He got submitted faster than anybody else got knocked out.
Oh man, it was. What was
You
it?
know
Cool?
why?
It was.
He didn't.
It was.
He didn't have time to build up the sweat on his skin yet, so he couldn't slide out of things, man.
Ah, yes.
What was
yes.
the meme? It was like Andrew's like 3. It was Andrew's 127 says I just tapped on your ass.
Andrew's 137 says I just tapped out.
I just tapped on your ass.
Oh God.
And then
was
we
a good
retconned Wawa's guy into being Jamaican.
I don't know if you'll ever get
Waba.
around to making a highlight video for that stream in like a new Legacy Inc. style way, but I don't care if it were to get 5 views. Once you're set up in the new apartment, I need you. Hopefully those VODs are still up, but I'm gonna need you to make a 20-minute highlight video from those streams, because Jesus Christ, there was some gold there. I look forward. Honestly, I might do that idea again. We'll have a stream for the holiday season, and maybe we go back to boxing. There's the MMA option. People have really asked for a wrestling game option.
Oh,
so I
man.
mean, there's fun to potentially be had moving forward. To answer the question from AJ, favorite MMA fighter of all time was a guy by the name of Carlos Condit, who he just murdered people. That's all he did. He just fucking murdered people. It was wonderful. Sweet, wonderful violence, because while I worry about the people, there is also that part of my monkey brain that goes, fight, 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 fight. So, I admit to being hypocritical on occasion.
I will say, honorable mention, Boss Rutan, because he only used open hands. He only used open hands and slapping people in the face.
Oh, God. Delightful.
Oh, man.
And God, favorite boxer of all time is that's a tougher one for me. I will say though, just for the hell of it, in case anyone is interested in boxing, instead of answering this question, I will shout out the fact that there is a phenomenal YouTuber at Rummy's Corner, RUMMYS Corner. This guy makes tremendous boxing videos. I've been watching him for a few years, so check him out. That is my recommendation. I can't answer the boxing one though. There's just too many people bouncing around in my head. So instead, we'll go to Bud Knight. What is the greatest sporting event you attended live? I feel like we've been over. We've talked about like hockey memories, but sporting event is a little bit more broad, obviously.
Dude, I'm going to say Forbidden Door. I don't give a fuck. That was awesome.
Fair.
I was always like, oh, I like wrestling. And it was just like, oh, sweet, I love wrestling. And I saw fucking Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay do fucking flips and shit all over the ring. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sold. I'm 100% sold.
I mean, that would do it, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Sin, You got a go-to answer for this?
I like 100% answered this in like one of the last podcasts, but it
I
was
feel like
Game 7 against the Blues, where the Sharks made
Yeah.
it to the Stanley Cup Finals for the first time. Like,
Yeah, I feel like this question was added because we all answered hockey-wise last time, so now they just broadened it up a little bit to maybe
guess what,
include other
motherfucker?
sports.
That's the only sport I've really attended. I've been to like a Warriors game back when they sucked, and I was so little that I had to go home because I had a bedtime. We missed the fourth quarter in the, but I do remember it was against the Celtics. I think.
Ooh, Paul Pierce era? Must have been.
Dude, no,
What
I
was
was
it
like
before?
young. I was like
Oh
young.
God.
Like I don't remember names as how young I was.
God, are we so
Maybe
what, like,
it was around the Spreewell era for the
Jesus.
Warriors. I was super
Wow.
young. Like I had to go home, man. Fuck.
Oh, God, we tracked down a Sharks game that you went to once upon a time.
Oh,
I want to
Jesus.
see.
I like don't remember the year. Like the Sharks game was easy. Like I could kind of remember the year, but
So
yeah, this was
So Latrell Sprewell played for the Warriors from 92 to 98.
it was sometime in that.
So
Quite
would you
obviously.
presume? God, how old are you in 95? 5, 6?
It was 5, depending
I
on
thought
what
so.
month it was.
Would you say that was around the time?
Sorry, what the fuck was that cackle? It just
Oh shit! I caught me off guard.
God, I want to know. I want to track this down. Somebody, if you care to, do the research for us. Let us know who Sin saw play for the Warriors.
I do remember, like at before halftime, the fucking Celtics big man just did an underhand like half court shot that just went over the basket and like into the crowd. That's the only thing I fucking remember, man. I remember more of the Globetrotters thing I went to.
That's fair. That is fair. God. Shout out, I'm looking at the 95-96 Golden State Warriors roster.
I bet you could find the lone Raiders game I went to. It was against the Chiefs, and it was pouring rain. And there was like no passes thrown in the entire game. But it was all good because at the time the Raiders had Tyrone Wheatley. And he just could not be stopped. And I wore my like Scream costume because, Raiders fans always dress weird. I didn't get the fact that it was mostly like pirate themed. I just went in a fucking Halloween costume with the Raiders jersey over it.
Like, yay, people are dressing up. Delightful. On that 95-96 team, Kevin Willis, who is turning 61 years old in a week, and fun fact, played in the league at the same time as LeBron James, who is still playing.
Holy.
One of my favorite fun facts. Kevin Willis, who had 1,400 freaking NBA games played in his career. He had
it's wild.
Yeah.
It's wild. There are people who have played with LeBron James, and their kids are now in the NBA and they're able to play with LeBron James. That's fucked.
Dude, LeBron James's son is now older than LeBron was when he was drafted. Like, it's fucking weird, man. And then LeBron actually lived up to the fucking hype, and imagine that. That almost seemed impossible. Anyway, basketball. From Scorpion Hoopers, who's one prospect that you remember destroying worlds in EA NHL, but they never became a real-life NHLer? His shout is NHL 11 Dan Sexton.
Oh, there's so many. There's been so many.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite, NHL 14, Tyler Fear. I don't know what it was. My second year of being a GM, he went undrafted. And I kept him there. I was like, okay, I'll grab him. And then a year after, he was a 95 overall. I'm like, what the fuck? It was it was insane. He just jumped and skyrocketed.
Yeah, I have one. Sorry, I thought you were done. My bad, Endo.
Shut up. Okay, go ahead.
No, it's fine. I got nothing. Louis-Philippe Guindon.
Ooh.
A French-ass name.
In, I think, NHL, was it 14 or Legacy? I think it'd be Legacy actually, and he was like a goalie that you could draft in either the first or second year who had like 4.5 gold star potential, and he was like lights out. He was money for your team. And I did like a Flames franchise mode back then where I had him on the roster and we kept winning cups.
Yeah, I'm looking at him right now. Former member of Drummondville and Rimouski, and went into U Sports College in Canada, university, and played in the ECHL for a bit, and is retired. So, yeah, one of those legends. I mean, like Sid mentioned, there are so freaking many people that could be brought up here because over the years, NHL loved to overrate people. Like one of the more recent examples has to be Trevor Wong, where it's like, he's medium elite Trevor Wong.
Man.
And before him, it was Joe Veleno. Yeah, he was like an NHL 17. He was like a top 5 pick. He was a medium elite.
And it is an NHLer, but not quite that. But yeah, I mean, there's been, plenty of those misses. I mean, even guys that were drafted top 5 that didn't end up making it. I mean, Michael Dow Cole comes to mind. Or I mean, he wasn't top 5. No, he wasn't he? He was top 5, top 10. But then you get to like the Hunter Shinkaricks of the world and guys like that. But for me, I think of there are 2 that come to mind, and they're both from NHL 12. And the reason for that is it was my draft year, 2012. And there was one guy who shares the exact same birthday as me, who played for the Windsor Spitfires and the Saginaw Spirit by the name of Grant Weberman, who became a bona fide #1 defenseman. And he retired right after OHL and not getting drafted. He just stopped playing. And then the other guy, who I think was the next draft year based on his birthday, was Raphael LaFontaine, who was the captain of the Acadie Bathurst Titan, and then also went the U Sports route and eventually quietly retired. But yeah, those 2 guys, NHL 12, like any franchise mode I did that year, like that was one that was top left wing and top defenseman right there. And there are so many other examples from
there's so
over
many
the year.
Yeah, I just looked up Tyler.
Seth Griffith was one I would always grab.
Bruins legend Seth Griffith.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh God, let's not go down the freaking rabbit hole of missed Bruins draft picks.
I just realized that Tyler Wong was the guy who lit the fuck up of the out of the Canucks
Tyler or Trevor,
game.
There's brothers.
It's Tyler Wong. So Tyler Wong. Oh, you guys talk about Trevor Wong, right?
Yeah, he's the one who was like overrated in the NHL games. He was like a top 5 pick. Yeah.
Okay. So, do you guys remember the first ever preseason game for the Vegas Golden Knights and the Vancouver Canucks?
Absolutely not.
Outside of like Vadim Shipachyov playing, no.
Yeah.
So
the Russian meme and
yeah. So what had happened was Vegas absolutely fucking stomped the lights out of Vancouver. It was like 9-4 or something like that. And Tyler Wong became like this giant star where he's like, everyone's like, who the hell is this guy? Like, where is he coming from, kind of thing. And he had like 5 points in the game and had like a hat trick or something like that. And everyone's like, holy shit, this guy's gonna be like a UFA like star or whatever. And now he plays with Kunlun and the KHL.
Fair enough.
I don't not remember that preseason games. I barely remember Sharks preseason games, man.
Yeah.
God, yeah.
The last I did go to a preseason game. It was the one I actually remember was looking on the back of the jersey. I'm like, who the fuck is named Couture? Like after handbags and shit. And then then he became
You learned today.
Little did you know. With that, we'll move on to talking about the kind of biggest stories from the past week. Thank you again for the questions, by the way. Like I said, this first one is just kind of shit, but it is probably the biggest thing that's been talked about, at least in the world of men's hockey. And that is the return of Bill Peters. Now, a lot of people might be going, who the fuck is Bill Peters? Bill Peters was previously an assistant coach with the Detroit Red Wings, the head coach of the Carolina Hurricanes, and the Calgary Flames, who on November 29th, 2020, resigned from his position as the coach of the Calgary Flames, in part due to stories that had come out. This comes from Greg Wyshynski on ESPN.com. Bill Peters, who resigned in disgrace from Calgary in 2019, was announced as the new head coach of the WHL's Lethbridge Hurricanes. Peters, 58, resigned as Flames head coach in November 2019 in his second season with the team. Akeem Alou, who played for Peters in 2009-10 with the Rockford Ice Hogs of the AHL, alleged that Peters dropped the N-bomb several times towards Alou in the dressing room in his rookie year because he did not like Alou's choice in music. The story was corroborated by two of his teammates in Rockford. It should be noted, too, after that, of course, the word came out that the GOAT himself, Michael Jordan, not that one, but a different Michael Jordan, who played with the Carolina Hurricanes, had also alleged being kicked while on the bench and verbally abused and so on and so forth. So, Bill Peters was canceled, clearly, as some people would probably take it. And yeah, Bill Peters has been brought back to coach children and young adults. There's been a lot of talk about his punishment. His punishment for this was being a head coach in the KHL for a season and a half, being a director of player personnel for the AJHL's Grand Prairie Storm, and is now, again, with the Lethbridge Hurricanes. Akeem Alou had this to say. Thanks for reaching out to me and trying to mend the situation. I really appreciate the kind words. They mean a lot. This is sarcastically, by the way. I don't feel that at this point that I have anything to say to Bill at this point. It's been 13 years since the incident happened and 4 since it's become public. I am curious as to why he wants to apologize now. So Alou insinuating there was no prior apology up until Peters was essentially being introduced as the new head coach of the team. And of course, yes, it was an isolated incident and an immediately regrettable incident, but I take responsibility for what I said, was Bill Peters. Continuing with the Akeem Alou, most folks don't know the backstory of all that happened. After the incident happened, instead of apologizing, he did everything in his power to blackball me in the game for over a decade. He even went as far as to write a letter to Chicago management at the time, stating it was either me or him, further alienating me from all of management. That Chicago team produced 5 NHL GMs, Chicago, as in, Rockford and such.
Right.
Dave Talon, Kevin Cheveldayoff, Mark Bergevin, Stan Bowman, and Rick Dudley. He says, although I have a lot of love for Rick, that's a large chunk of the league that believed I was a bad kid/person without ever knowing what truly happened, because I kept it to myself because I knew I had to suck it up to have any sort of career. It's something I could never recover from, and hockey was everything to me and my family. I am an immigrant to this country, Canada, and grew up with nothing. I came from the inner city and grew up on welfare and government housing. It was what I used to provide for my family, and one man stole that from me. At the time of the incident, I was leading that team in scoring as the youngest player on the team. He called me the N-word, and instead of apologizing at the time, he doubled down and sent me to the ECHL. I went through a tremendously dark time throughout this whole process. He would berate and embarrass me endlessly in front of the whole team on a daily basis. Truth be told, if I never said anything, he'd still be coaching in the NHL. I'm all about second chances, but only if they're sincere. I've talked to some of the fellas about you, and everyone had amazing things to say, from Trevor Daley, Nazem Kadri, Wayne Simmons, Joel Ward, and these are guys I have a lot of respect for, so I know you're doing this for the right reasons. Thanks, and be well. If I'm not mistaken, this was... Now, he did censor this out, but basically, as Akeem put this, a current NHL coach reached out to me last week to try and broker an apology on behalf of Bill Peters. So this was his response verbatim to that coach that was acting as a middleman. And clearly, this coach that did this on behalf of Bill Peters, that last statement in regards to hey, I've asked guys about you, you're cool, but it sucks that you're doing this on behalf of Bill Peters, is essentially the idea here. it's not surprising to see Akeem Alou still be incredibly frustrated over this, as I think most people would be in his situation. But this is, of course, just another example of if a franchise thinks that you can help them win, you will get a second chance, a third chance, a fourth chance, a fifth chance, even if you really haven't done anything to try and make amends for the situation. Obviously, I've made my thoughts known on Columbus hiring Mike Babcock, and I'll continue to take the heat of, oh, you woke liberal cuck, you cancel culture, and all that shit. Lord knows I got plenty
Cancel
of responses.
culture doesn't exist. Clearly,
It doesn't.
The only people who ever get canceled are the victims.
The only thing that it's crazy. I'm gonna say it right here. The only thing that's been canceled in the NHL are pre-game jerseys in the warm-ups. That's the only thing in the NHL that's been canceled. And it's fucking fabric.
Like, okay, like you think of like even like celebrities of who got canceled. Dave Chappelle is bigger than he's ever been. Louis C.K. is bigger than he's ever been. Like, who honestly has been canceled? Like, really?
Kevin Spacey, because he attacked men.
Yeah, there's him. I don't know. Can you call Harvey Weinstein cancel culture when there are criminal charges and he's currently in prison? Is that cancel culture now too?
It's cancel culture until like they get like actually like convicted, and then they shut up and move on to the next thing because they can't use that for their bullshit arguments. I mean, the thing that's interesting to me is that point of Akeem Alou was the younger person on his team, and he was leading them in scoring, and everyone's always like, well, Akeem Alou didn't have what it took to be in the NHL. He was leading his team in scoring.
Yeah.
Are you sure? Like, I don't know, man. And Bill Peters has been a shit coach. Like that.
Yeah.
One of these things is not like the other. Like,
yeah, his records with Carolina and Calgary weren't particularly stellar. It is worth noting. So if I'm not mistaken, as well, and this comes from a Bob McKenzie article, if I'm not mistaken. The general manager of the Lethbridge, is he the general manager? He is, yeah. He's the general manager of the Lethbridge Hurricanes. Peter Onholt has been friends with Bill Peters since the late 90s, early 2000s, when they were both coaches in the WHL.
Yeah, there we go. There it is.
There it is. There it is. Surprise, surprise, right? Buddy. Keep getting each other jobs. You cannot tell me that Bill Peters was the best guy for this role with all the different coaches that are out there, the NCAA, youth, lower levels. But no, people like Bill Peters will keep getting opportunities because of his friends. People like fucking Mike Babcock will keep getting opportunities because he won something almost 15 fucking years ago. It's what it is. And like at this point, it's like there's no point for outrage. Like the top comment in response to one of this on Reddit was they fire people because of public backlash, not because they care. They'll wait a few years until things die down and then bring people back. And we have seen that over and over again. We're going to see it again. Coach, John Quenneville will be a head coach in the NHL again. As attached to the whole Chicago thing as he was, and losing his head coaching gig with the Florida Panthers, Joel Quenneville, not John Quenneville, excuse me, that's his nephew or whatever. Joel Quenneville will be a coach again. Multiple time Stanley Cup winner. He will be back. He will be. I wouldn't be surprised if Stan Bowman ends up being a GM again. Like, it's just one of those things where if you have this label of success, if you actually have had success, if you have the right friends, you will always get other chances, even in Bill Peters' case, if you were racist and physically abusive towards your players.
Yeah, I saw that. Like, someone brought up, like, he's not even a good coach. Like, so why is he getting these opportunities? And someone's like, oh, well, that seems like he'd be a perfect junior coach then, since he wasn't good in the NHL. Like, seriously. Like, clearly he's not good enough for the NHL, so he'd probably help a junior team out. He's going to be with kids.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's proof that it all comes down to who you know. It's crazy.
Sucks. It's one
Yeah.
of the worst aspects of sports, and it's very much a part of hockey. And it
not
fucking
even not even
blows.
sports. It's just business in
Life.
general.
Yeah.
The amount of opportunities that I've been given, God bless my soul, knock on wood, I will never take it for granted ever. Just because I know somebody or I'm friends with someone who's friends with another guy who knows the guy who knows the guy who knows this guy knew this guy knew this guy. But just knock on wood, never take it for granted if you have the opportunity.
So, like I said, that's one of the negative aspects of the sport. There are some positives, though, and it's mainly on the women's side of things that I wanted to mention.
Women,
Women
women,
every time.
pencils, women.
God, every time. There was a moment that happened in a game between the Cape Breton Eagles and the Moncton Wildcats in the QMJHL, in which Raya Stewart became the first woman to ever suit up for the Cape Breton Eagles, 24 saves against Moncton, and she is on her way to play for the University of Wisconsin in 2024-2025. We continue to hear about these opportunities that women are getting within the CHL. And I love talking about those, especially now, because you talk about someone like that getting an opportunity, going off to college. Well, what happens next? And now we have a better idea of what happens next because the PWHL has been revealed. The Professional Women's Hockey League has officially been established after the collapse of the PHF or the takeover, or call it whatever you want at this stage. But the primary new Women's Hockey League is now a thing. They will have a 24-game regular season that begins in January of 2024, with the league featuring an original 6, with 3 teams in the U.S. and 3 in Canada. Those in the U.S. being Boston, Minneapolis, St. Paul, and the New York City area, which will get a franchise. And the Canadian franchises will be located in Montreal, Toronto, and Ottawa. We are still waiting on details for home arenas, team names, logos, so on and so forth. It's already been announced that they will be playing games in a variety of facilities, from NHL-sized rinks to minor and junior league arenas. The league does plan to stream each game digitally, with hopes for television coverage as well. But now we know, like, it's starting. The ball is starting to roll finally on this whole idea of, okay, this will be, at least for the moment, the league housing the best women's talent that the sport of hockey has to offer. There was the holdout between the PWHPA and some of the best players in the world. The PHF still went on. When are we going to get that league? And we have it now. And it's just the idea of, like, okay, is this finally it? Is this finally the start of what needs to happen for the women's game? PWHL as well has announced they are planning on having a presence at major NHL events like the All-Star Weekend in Toronto, which there was no reason to not, again, have sort of an all-star game as a part of that, or NA versus CA. We saw it was Kendall Coyne Schofield, was it not, who was in the fastest skater competition at the skills game 2 years ago or so, and she did very well. Like, it's not like she finished in last. She did very well for herself. So it's just one of those things. The initial free agency signing period is actually September 1st, the day this podcast will go up. And then the majority of the league's founding players will be selected in a draft on September 18th. So we're going to be hearing a lot more about this league as the month of September kind of kicks off here. I believe the GMs are either, I think they're going to be announced tomorrow as well.
Yeah.
So we're getting a lot of information very, very quickly.
Also, one thing that's definitely really cool is that the women's players will be getting salaries between $30K to $80K, which is good. They're getting paid. They're getting paid. They're getting paid money. They're getting paid money. It's the equivalency of, ECHLers and AHLers, but at the same time, for a first-year franchise, first year
Only
league.
24 game season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
24 game season.
That's good.
Yeah,
I mean,
will
especially
say,
compared to what the women's, what they were previously getting paid, especially.
Yeah.
I mean, there were a lot of them where it's like, all right, yeah, I have my full-time job and I still try to be a professional athlete on the side, which is always insane. But then again, you can't be surprised that it happens for a women's hockey league when it happens in the UFC to this day.
And then
Yeah.
like some players are getting paid like 100K. There's like 3 people in the PHF are getting paid like 100K to play, and then everyone else is making like scraps in comparison. I mean, like if you're that talented, like I get getting paid that much, but I guess the massive pay discrepancy was kind of the reason why they re-established everything was between 30 and 80K. That's like decent starting point, I think, for a league. One more thing as well too is they are saying that the leagues and stuff like that are supposed to be in AHL arenas mostly kind of thing. I swear to God, one of the biggest things that I have as a complaint as someone who lives in Toronto, and the Toronto Six played out of York University, which is roughly a 30 to 45-minute drive away from the city center. They have to have the rink downtown. They have to play out of either old Maple Leaf Gardens or out of Ricoh Coliseum, Coca-Cola Coliseum, where the Marlies play. Because Maple Leaf Gardens is where the TMU Bold play out of, the University of Toronto, whatever. Old Ryerson, they play out of there.
Toronto Metropolitan.
Yeah, go Bold. Because, the Six played out of York U, and it was just a disaster to get to for commute and everything. And I know they did a bunch of renovations over there over the summer because I play in that rink as well. And they didn't ruin, but they made the rink size from international to NHL regulation. So they might be going back there. I don't know for sure, but it seems like they're going to be going back to putting things over there now they have everything kind of uniform.
Like I said, I look forward to talking about this more throughout the month of September and really heading into their season in January. And just hoping, man, like let this be the fucking league that sticks. Like the women's game has undergone so much growth, but at the same time, so much turmoil in the past decade. I see people already being like, "Oh, do you think the I always want to say the PWHPA now, but it's like, do you think the PWHL will be in like NHL 25 or something?" It's like, I fucking hope we get to the point where you can have the proper women's representation.
Yeah.
It does suck that the PHF names are dead, though. My Boston Pride jersey is now a retro jersey, but
That's a sick name.
it is a sick name, and I hate that it's gone. But
Better than the fucking Toronto Six.
In the Six.
In
In
the
the Six.
Six.
Joe and the Six. Joe and the Six. He's gonna teach them kids. Oh, man.
So we'll see you next week, everybody. Thanks for watching, supporting.
That's an old Thumb League bit for a bar down. God, I love that. They made the joke about Joe Thornton coming to the Leafs. I think about 2 years before Joe Thornton came to the Leafs, and then Corbin and DZ made the Joe and the Six jingle, and that's what it was. It was fucking hilarious.
At Endurance M on the Twitters. Have fun finishing the rest of your move, buddy.
Oh boy, I haven't even started.
At Sin for the Win Prod on Twitter. Sin for the Win Productions on the YouTube side of things. Still uploading your lovely Draft Dynasty franchise that you got going on.
Yeah. We're almost to the playoffs. We're getting close. We're just waiting on the goalies to stop being in the 70s.
It's not allowed.
Ugh.
All fucking like 0.1% chance of drafting a franchise caliber goalie or whatever the hell it is. But maybe one of these days you'll get the help. And then that goalie will suck. Anyway, we've talked about NHL enough. Thank you all. The streams, the Maddens, the NBA is coming up in like a week. And then FIFA's out. And then NHL's out. And it's going to be good. It's going to be fun. Thank you for listening, for watching, supporting the show. We will see you all next week at some point. Hopefully there's more. Can we not talk about how shitty somebody is in hockey for once? Let's hope that happens. Goodbye.